So I'm going to get rid of my camera here so that you can focus on the slides, and we'll go ahead and get started. I appreciate everybody showing up. My goal here is to give you a lot of value and hopefully to impart some things that are helpful to you in your particular situation. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm hoping everybody can see my screen at this point in time. Welcome to the web class. I'm Dr. Richard Kelly, and today we're going to talk about 3 keys or secrets that can be used to naturally lower A1C. I think that's the goal. If you're here, there's a reason that you're here. And for most people, it is because you want to lower your A1C. Also, I want to let you know at the end of the web class, for those who are wanting more support, just to be transparent, I'm going to show you how you can join a free 90-day challenge community on Facebook. And if you want to be in a group with other people who are also trying to lower their A1C, and get healthier. It's a program that you can and should do in conjunction with your doctor. And again, it's free. There is nothing to buy on this web class. There's no pitch at the end of this web class. And I just want to be really upfront that what I'm going to try to impart are really things that I think can be helpful in helping you lower A1C. But I do want to let you know that I'm going to tell you how to join our community, which is called Fitness Response 90-Day Challenge Community. And it's for people who are setting all kinds of goals: weight loss, lower A1C, reverse pre or type 2 diabetes, drop weight so that your blood pressure improves. We're going to allow you, or we're going to encourage you to set your own goals with your doctor so that you get healthier. And so my goal is simply to provide information today that may be helpful to you. And so let's go ahead and get started. So one question I get asked is this: can the information that we're going to talk about on today's web class help if I've already been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes? I hear that all the time. And the answer to that question is yes. But my focus in general is on helping men and women who are at risk and want to avoid becoming type 2 diabetic. And the main reason for that is this: I have found that once someone is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it's very often difficult for many patients to believe that they can do anything about it. And so even if that's not necessarily the case. And so, but right off the bat, I want to tell you some information that very few people know anything about, and most likely your doctor doesn't know about it either. And I spoke on this topic in April here in Austin at KetoCon in a talk titled "The Marketing of Prediabetes to America." And so in 2003, an article by Paul Holmes, who was the founder of Provoke Media, he said in 2001, there was a grassroots campaign by one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world that was in conjunction with a global public relations firm. And their goal was to make A1C the focus of type 2 diabetes management. They called it the Know Your A1C campaign. And some of you may even remember that. And this campaign was simultaneously used as a platform for the marketing of a new diabetes drug that this pharmaceutical company had launched in 1998. And they knew that if they could convince people that A1C was the most important thing to be managed, that doctors might also prescribe their new diabetes drug to their patient. This campaign traveled to markets across the United States, promoting frequent A1C testing to America, along with this pharmaceutical company's new diabetes drug. And in the process of this campaign, the pharmaceutical industry hijacked the narrative surrounding the management of type 2 diabetes. My first goal here is to let you know, because I know so many people on this webinar are afraid of their A1C. They're afraid about their A1C. They're afraid that their A1C is too high, that it's the most important thing that they've been encouraged to improve, because we hear that from our doctors. You've got to get your A1C down. And it's an important number to understand, but I want to demystify it to some degree for those of you who are on here. And so there's been an enormous amount of hype by Big Pharma surrounding the importance of lowering this number. And they deliberately minimize verbiage which emphasizes the need for lifestyle change and for weight loss. And so, and as a matter of fact, you'll hear absolutely nothing about the possibility of reversing type 2 diabetes from big pharma or from their commercials. It all surrounds A1C. So many people don't want to hear this, but over 90% of all diabetes in the United States is type 2 diabetes, and it's linked to excess weight. A1C is not a disease, and it's not the most important factor that helps improve pre or type 2 diabetes. And while it's important to understand what A1C actually is, lowering A1C isn't the thing that improves or reverses pre or type 2 diabetes. And that may surprise some people here, but it's simply not the most important factor that determines whether your pre or type 2 diabetes improves. In fact, many drugs will lower A1C, but they often worsen type 2 diabetes and cause further weight gain by hiding glucose from the bloodstream. And that doesn't make people healthier just because their A1C was successfully lowered with medication. In fact, Dr. Jason Fung, the author of the Diabetes Code, says you can't cure a dietary disease with drugs or devices. So in a nutshell, A1C is simply a number that tells us how optimal or how poor our diet has been over a 3-month period. For most people, it's not A1C that needs to be fixed because A1C, again, is not the problem. Diet is the problem. The more carbohydrate we consume over the 3 months prior to testing, A1C tends to go up. The less carbohydrate we consume over that period, A1C tends to go down. So I want to tell you 3 very practical things that you can do to lower your A1C. I call them secrets because most people are in fact unaware of these things that influence A1C in the first place. And so, but I'll give you a caveat, a warning. The first thing you need to know that if you're taking medication for diabetes, any of the things that I talk about today should be approved by your doctor before implementing them. So how do we lower A1C? And these things are going to be probably simpler than maybe you thought that they would be. But they're relatively simple ideas. But the fact is that until you implement them with consistency, you may not see the results of your A1C improving. And so because A1C gives us an idea of our average blood glucose level over a 3-month period, the key to reducing A1C involves keeping blood glucose in the normal range more often than not. Normal range typically is between 70 to 99 milligrams per deciliter for those who are non-pre or type 2 diabetic. But for some of you, if you've already been diagnosed with pre or type 2 diabetes, your blood glucose may be consistently higher than the normal range, or you wouldn't be here. So first I want to talk about some of the truths which you may not be aware. And so the first truth is this: unless someone is being prescribed medications for type 2 diabetes, most people can live without the consumption of sugar or carbohydrates. Out of the 3 macronutrients the body uses and needs, protein, carbohydrate, and fat, carbohydrate for most humans is not required to sustain life. And so most of us have been led to believe otherwise, but this is absolutely true. We as human beings can make our own glucose from other nutrients in our diet through a process called gluconeogenesis. And it's the process of gluconeogenesis which keeps us alive at night while we sleep and while we have no fuel coming into the body. The process of gluconeogenesis is what keeps us from slipping into a coma and dying in our sleep. And we don't need anywhere near the amount of sugar and carbohydrate that most Americans consume. But if your doctor has prescribed insulin or other glucose-lowering drugs, these medications may require more carbohydrate consumption than someone who is not on medication. And unfortunately, that carbohydrate consumption related to the medication that you're taking can elevate your A1C over time. So the second truth is that type 2 diabetes is an overstorage disorder, and it's not simply a disorder of elevated blood glucose or elevated A1C or simply genetics. And so type 2 diabetes often develops as the liver becomes congested with fat. And so as we bring too many carbohydrate calories into our bodies over time, the body works really hard to store this excess food energy in the liver. But when it can no longer keep pushing these sugar calories into the liver and the liver becomes congested with fat, fat gets deposited throughout the body. And at some point in time, blood glucose begins to rise and it spills out into the bloodstream, leading to the symptoms of type 2 diabetes. Some of you on this web class today may have been told that you have elevated liver enzymes, specifically ALT or AST, or that you have fatty infiltration of the liver or simply fatty liver. Some of you may have skin tags or darkening of the skin over the back of your neck, your knees, your elbows, or your skin creases. And these findings are often precursors to a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes down the line. So the third truth that you need to understand is that we live in a toxic food environment that we've all grown up in for many of us, and yet most of us no longer really recognize this. I'm 62 and I grew up with processed food around me, but nothing like what it's like today. And so subconsciously as a culture, I think there is a collective belief that if it's available to purchase at the grocery store or the supermarket, whatever it may be, it must be healthy enough to eat or drink. And that's what people live on. Many people live day after day and year after year on products that come straight out of a factory and are no longer even real from the standpoint of being food in its most natural form. The fourth truth is that many doctors have simply given up helping their patients lose weight because it's too time consuming and it's easier to write a prescription and move on to the next patient. Doctors are busy. They don't mean, their intentions are good. I believe overall, the majority of doctors who are treating patients have the best of intentions for their patients and they want the best. And they don't like the fact that they're as busy as they are and that they have to practice that way. But that is the way that it is in so many practices. So even though doctors may know in their heart that a patient's diabetes would resolve with weight loss, most doctors don't have the time or the expertise to help their patients accomplish this. And so the fifth truth is this: traditional medicine perpetuates an erroneous message that type 2 diabetes can't be reversed. And this is simply not true. It's false. And so, but it's the result of ongoing conditioning and messaging from Big Pharma, who now controls the dialogue about type 2 diabetes through their commercials and with enormous advertising budgets. So these are some of the obstacles that we're all up against regarding understanding what moves the needle in pre and type 2 diabetes. So keeping these things in mind, here are some of the things, secrets, if you will, that you can use after discussing them with your doctor to lower your A1C. So why are these secrets in the first place? They're secrets because most people, including many doctors, don't recognize how they make a difference. And this is unfortunate that they're secrets, but the reality is that these are things that can make a difference and improve your health if you're willing to take them seriously. And so secret number one is pretty simple. Don't allow what you drink to raise your A1C. It doesn't matter what you enjoy drinking. Don't drink beverages that contain sugar or other carbohydrate, period. If you drink sodas, fruit juices, smoothies, coffee with sugar, or like so many of us here in the South, I'm in Austin, people all over Texas and in the South drink sweet tea, which is loaded with sugar. I grew up drinking that. You're taking in unnecessary sources of sugar, which over time will raise your A1C if consumed with regularity. And so just by eliminating calorie-containing beverages and focusing on drinking water throughout the day instead, it's possible to not only lower your A1C, but for many people to lose between 10 to 20 pounds over the course of a single year. I know that drinking water is hard for some people, but if you're trying to lower your A1C and that's your goal, getting rid of carbohydrate containing beverages is important, and doing so will help you make progress. Secret number two, is about environment and understanding that the food environment in which we live currently, that you see it for what it really is, which is a toxic and very unnatural environment. And yet most of us no longer see it because we've grown up in it. So the next time that you're at the supermarket or grocery store, I know a lot of you have noticed this. I think it's really really an important exercise to just take some time when you're not shopping and just walk around and watch what people are checking out with in their baskets, their shopping baskets at the checkout counter. It's amazing how much food is just not real anymore. The reality is that unless we're buying fresh vegetables, eggs, fish, chicken, beef, lamb, or other sources of protein along these lines, and vegetables as well, people are typically purchasing products which require manufacturing. I want you to think about that for a minute, because most products which are capable of lasting weeks or months or years on store shelves, they're chock full of multiple sources of hidden sugar and carbohydrate. And these are products that represent the daily diet for millions and millions of people. And the fact that they have to travel through a manufacturing plant before they can end up on our table is really sad. And it's insidious, because we've grown up thinking that these products are good for us. And so even though it may sound trite and like old news, if you can, it's really important to eat as close to the earth as possible, real food, so that you're not consistently taking in unnecessary sources of sugar and chemicals. And by doing this and avoiding manufactured, highly processed food, you'll be limiting the amount of sugar and carbohydrate that ends up in your bloodstream, and you'll decrease the amount of glucose that's available to stick to or glycate your red blood cells. And over time, this lowers or has the potential to lower your A1C. Secret number 3 is something called offloading stored sugar calories. Excess carbohydrate can't be stored as sugar in large amounts within the body, so it gets converted to fat within the body. And because carbohydrates are brought into the body in excess, over time end up getting stored as body fat, as well as within the liver and in and around the organs of the abdominal cavity. Offloading sugar is a process that occurs over time as you begin to eat cleaner and eating more holistic, and the body begins to start letting go or metabolize body fat. That is part of offloading sugar. So offloading sugar calories occurs in 2 different ways. The first way is when we begin eating in a manner that allows the body to begin burning body fat, and we began offloading carbohydrate calories that were initially converted and stored as fat. So the first way, we're talking strictly about a dietary approach to offloading stored carbohydrate calories. The second aspect of offloading sugar occurs as we expend energy and forcing the body through exercise to burn excess glucose, which in turn decreases the glucose in our bloodstream. And over time, this helps to reduce A1C, because we're decreasing the amount of glucose that our red blood cells are exposed to. That's what A1C is. It is the attachment of excess blood glucose to your red blood cells over time. If your diet is crappy, if your diet is high in carbohydrate, and when I say high in carbohydrate, sometimes for some people that may just mean eating an order of French fries a couple of times a week. And we might not think, well, I don't eat that. I don't eat badly that often. And so, but getting your A1C down is a matter of being really consistent. And so the reduction of dietary carbohydrate, as well as engaging in regular exercise, both contribute to our ability to offload stored sugar calories, and in turn, both of these reduce A1C. And so, as a simple and common sense as these things are, these are the things that reduce A1C. And so many medications, including insulin, also lower A1C, but they often do so simply by hiding glucose away from the bloodstream and tucking it away as fat somewhere else in the body. And so I want to talk to you about some tips that may help you be successful doing this and getting your A1C down. So here's some things that may help move the needle and that you may not hear from your doctor. I still want you to talk to your doctor if you plan on implementing any of these things, because your doctor is very, very important component in helping you manage your A1C and helping you get healthier. So tip number 1 is strictly consistency. Consistency is key. Many people get discouraged when they don't see results in a couple of weeks or in a month or even 2 months, but this is a lifelong battle. We are immersed in a horrible food environment. And so it's not something that you can just do for a little bit and everything's going to get better. If you're consistent in implementing the things that I'm telling you about with your doctor's approval, it's entirely possible that your A1C will be lower after 3 months of being consistent. But you have to be consistent with doing these things. Type 2 diabetes in most cases brews slowly under the surface as we gain weight over the years. It doesn't happen happen overnight, and it's not going to improve overnight. So the more consistent and diligent you are at managing your diet and the amount of carbohydrate coming into the body, and the more consistently that you add to your daily calorie deficit through exercise, the more likely you'll reduce your A1C and improve your health. And so if you and your family eat mashed potatoes or have bread and sweet tea or dessert every day of the week, you're taking in excess sugar. If your breakfast is like many Americans, consisting of toast or pancakes or waffles, cereal, biscuits, pastries, muffins, and orange juice, you're consuming almost pure sugar with those items. If your lunch consists of hamburgers or French fries and pizza or almost any type of buffet, you're consuming large amounts of sugar, and you're going to struggle to keep your A1C in the normal range. On the contrary, the more consistently you watch your carbohydrate intake and make exercise, even walking, a daily habit, the higher your likelihood of success is going to be. So tip number 2 is this: consider, if you don't already have one, getting a continuous glucose monitor. Now, these devices are very prevalent on the market these days. You may actually need a prescription from your doctor to get one, but it's worth asking for one. At one point in time, only type 1 diabetics check their blood glucose frequently, but today, most diabetics, over 90% of all diabetics in the country and around the world for that matter, are type 2 diabetics. And so a continuous glucose monitor can help you learn which foods and drinks are causing spikes in your blood glucose. This is a game-changing tool that can provide you with ongoing information to help you make the best food choices possible. And so by being aware of which foods and drinks are raising your blood glucose level, you're going to be limiting the glucose concentration available to attach itself to your red blood cells and increase the likelihood of lowering your A1C, because you know which foods you need to avoid, and you know which ones are going to raise your blood glucose and which ones are not. And so these monitors are like training wheels, like when you're learning to ride a bike. Using one for just a matter of weeks can show you which foods are spiking your blood glucose and contributing to an elevated A1C. And so a lot of doctors may not be willing to recommend them or give a prescription for one, but I have no idea why that would be the case, because these are a game-changing item if you can encourage your doctor to write a prescription for one. And so you can learn a lot just within a week or two. You don't have to do it for multiple months at a time. Most people eat pretty standard. Most people eat habitually. We tend to eat the same things over and over again within our families. And so it doesn't take that long to learn which foods are actually elevating your blood glucose and elevating your A1C. And so tip number 3 is just get your doctor on board. Tell your doctor that you want to reverse your pre or type 2 diabetes and ask what they have to offer to help you move the needle. I truly believe most doctors want their patients to be healthier, and most would like to avoid putting you on diabetes medication if there's some other way to help you succeed. And they certainly don't want your condition to progress to the point where they run out of options and they put you on multiple medications and nothing is keeping your blood glucose under control because your diet is out of control. And ultimately they end up having to put you on insulin to keep your blood glucose under control. But if your doctor doesn't believe pre or type 2 diabetes is reversible, I would encourage you to find a doctor who's willing to work with you to reach your goals. And so tip number 4, ask yourself if you believe it's possible to reverse pre or type 2 diabetes. The fact is that reversing the direction of pre and type 2 diabetes requires a mental shift, because the message that type 2 diabetes can't be reversed, it has been heavily marketed to all of us, including your doctor, for well over 3 decades. And we have been taught this in medical school. But that has all begun to change as people are challenging the concept that type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes can't be reversed. And so tip number 5, I want you to understand that A1C is not what kills people. A1C is not a disease. Unhealthy lifestyle choices that persist are what drive the pathology in type 2 diabetes. This is a good thing because dietary and lifestyle patterns can be changed. And again, A1C simply provides a mirror that gives you a reflection of diet over the previous 3-month period prior to testing. A1C is not your disease, and it isn't something to be feared. And it can be used to guide dietary choices as you strive to get healthier, but it isn't the monster that we've been led to believe that it is from Big Pharma. And so tip number 6 is simply to decide to live the lifestyle of a non-type 2 diabetic. Now, what the heck does that mean? It means that the fittest, healthiest people on the planet are often people who have made the decision to live differently than everyone else around them, differently than the average person on the street. At this moment in time, most adults in America are either overweight, they're obese, and many of them have pre or type 2 diabetes. And there are many commonalities that are found within the dietary and lifestyle choices within that particular population. And by the same token, the leanest, fittest, and healthiest among us are often living in a very different manner than most adults in this country, but they've chosen that. The way that these people who are fit and healthy live can in fact be modeled, and that is a good thing. Tip number 7, add to your daily calorie deficit. So after seeing your doctor for their approval for you to do so, get in some type of exercise every single day. If you eat every day, make it a priority to burn some calories every day through exercise, even if that means simply starting a daily walking program. I used to tell, when we had our fitness and weight management clinic, that was something that I told them. If you eat every day, make it a priority to burn some calories every day through exercise. And that only makes sense to me. There's something that has gone around for a long time, that this idea that 3 days of exercising 3 days a week is enough to maintain good general health. But I'll tell you something, 3 days a week of exercise, generally speaking, in my experience in almost a decade of working with patients in our weight management clinic, I never saw people change very much who just did 3 days of exercise. And so consistency in that department is really key to moving the needle. And so losing weight and getting healthier is really so much difficult if you're trying to do it by diet alone and thinking that that's what's going to move the needle the most. And honestly, because of the food environment in which most of us currently live, it's really important to be proactive, because most of us are surrounded by temptations with bad nutrition at every turn. It surrounds us all day long, 24/7, week after week, month after month, and year after year. And unless you're diligent about paying attention to what you're putting in your mouth day after day, it's difficult. And so I hope that these ideas or secrets have you thinking about some things about the way that you're living, about the way that you've been fueling your body, and possible ways that you can make some changes to begin lowering your A1C. You know, for some of you, maybe you thought that it was going to be more extensive than this, or that maybe these secrets were going to be somehow super secret that were hidden from knowledge from everybody. But they're basic things that it really comes down to limiting the carbohydrate that you are presenting to your bloodstream. That's what elevates A1C. And so again, A1C is not your disease, but to lower it, if that's your main concern, it really comes down to limiting the glucose and sugars that come into your bloodstream. And it's something that is, you have to be diligent about. It's something that takes time, but it can be done. And like I say, if you implement some of these strategies about limiting the sugars in your beverages and really paying attention to eating closer to the earth and more holistically, you can move the needle. And it's entirely possible to improve your A1C within a 3-month period by really paying attention to all of these things. As I said in the beginning, I do have a 90-day challenge Facebook group, which you can join, and it is free. If you're interested in being part of a community of people who are trying to get healthier and lower their A1C, this might not be for all of you, but it might be a perfect place for some of you to hang out and learn some things. So a little more about me, and we kind of jumped into this and I told you who I was. So I've been a doctor for almost 30 years, and I've seen and treated a lot of men and women with pre and type 2 diabetes over that time. I've been fortunate to spend a lot of time working in emergency medicine, as well as working with my wife in our weight management clinic here in Austin for almost a decade. Something you may not know is that I've been there. I know the struggle. In the late 90s, I came out of my medical training 30 pounds overweight, and I knew I had to do something about it. Grown up an athlete, and I had never really experienced or had any issues with weight gain. And so I had to begin studying people who seemed to know some things about how to change the body that I didn't know at that time. And so over the years, by modeling people who were healthy and fit and seemed to know what they were doing, I figured out how to change. And so I now live and teach the principles of how to do that through a program in our Facebook group called the Fitness Response 90-Day Challenge. And it's free. It takes place within my online community on Facebook in our Fitness Response Challenge community, based on my book that I wrote called The Fitness Response, where in that community I've helped couples such as Vic and Celeste and Ricky and Candy all lose over 20 pounds each over the course of 90 days, implementing the concepts that we talk about there. I had one woman who was in one of our challenges over 90 days who lost almost 50 pounds, which was really amazing to me because that surprised even me, even though I know that these principles are beneficial and that they work. But Julia surprised me, and I thought that was great. This was a paid challenge, but it is not anymore because we want to help as many people as possible. So you can simply join the Facebook group and hang out and learn what other members are doing, what they're eating, what they're exercising, what they do, and just be in the group if that's appealing to you. Or you can go through the program modules and participate in the challenge for free. It's a 90-day challenge. I say 90 days. We know that people in 90 days can make a lot of changes. Now, you can go through the challenge for 90 days, and if you want to just stick around, and some people repeat the challenge in 90-day increments, but it's free. But if you want to go through the program modules, I'll tell you what that's about. If you do want to do the challenge and have access to the video module, if you're in the Facebook group, like I said, you can hang out and just, take in information and use it as a support group for what you're trying to accomplish. But if you want to do the challenge and have access to the video module, you'll need to post a picture of yourself holding a contract with yourself. It's not a contract with me. It's not a contract with anybody else. It's just a contract with yourself saying that you're prepared to do the things to try to get healthier. And it also is a promise that you'll do the challenge with your doctor's permission and blessing. It's our way of teaching you things, but making sure that we're not doing things counter to what your doctor would be okay with. And so we want you to have your doctor's blessing if you go through the challenge. If you need to lose weight, if you need to get healthier, if they want you to lower your A1C, if they're trying to get you to a healthier place, but it just hasn't happened, most doctors want you to get healthier. And so we're not doing anything radical within this group, but we are providing a framework to help you move the needle. But if you do want to go through the challenge and do this, we need you to post a picture in the group. But if you don't want to do that, you can just hang out. But regardless, once you post your picture in the Facebook group, we're going to give you access to all the video modules that I'm about to tell you about. And so here's what's in the challenge. The program consists of 4 really easy to follow training modules. These are all video based. You can consume them at your own pace. Each module is really short. The videos are easy to understand. There are lots of digital downloads and explanations as you go through the process. There's not much fluff there. There's really just information to help you reach the goals that you set for yourself. And so you'll set your own goals. Nobody's saying you have to, you're going to lose this much weight, or you're going to lower your A1C, or you're going to reverse your diabetes. These are goals that you're going to set for yourself, though I do advise you setting them in conjunction with your doctor. It's really important for you to be in alignment with your doctor, knowing what you're involved in, especially if you're on medication, because they need to know if you're losing weight through a process like that. They need to know so that they can manage your medication if you happen to be on glucose lowering drugs. Very important. So, but in this challenge, you can set your goals to lose weight, to normalize your A1C, to improve your blood pressure, reverse pre or type 2 diabetes, get stronger, and even transform your body if that's something that you want to do. And so they're your goals, you get to choose. And so, by the way, I don't like programs that people can't get through and learn what they need to know know quickly. And so if you wanted to, I created this program in a way that you can digest the information in all 4 video sections or modules in under 3 hours if you want to do that. And so most of the videos are only 2 to 5 minutes in length. And because I want you to absorb the information and implement it from day one, that's the problem with most programs, is that most people are presented with a course or information, and less than 10% of people who buy a course actually make it through a course. I want that to be different. And if that takes you coming into the program and maybe you do it for 2 weeks and then you drop off, you're still inside the group. And if you want to pick it up 2 months down the road and go through it again with more conviction, I want you to be able to do that. And so at the end of 90 days, my hope is that you will have reached the personal goal or goals that you've set for yourself at the beginning of the challenge. That's all there is to it. And so the first module is all about mindset. I want you to learn how to think differently about your health and your identity, and to help you lose weight and lower your A1C. You're going to learn about what I call the big A1C smoke screen and why it benefits big pharma and the healthcare industry for you and me to remain overweight and unhealthy. Second module is about food and nutrition. You're going to learn how to combine foods for maximum weight loss through a process that I call Key To Activity. And you're going to learn how to choose foods visually and intuitively so that you simply know what you need to be eating to make progress. Also, this is something that I talked about before, seeing if your doctor would prescribe a continuous glucose monitor. Between something like that, a continuous glucose monitor, and using this visual component of Key To Activity, this is something that can really help you take control of your glucose management. And so module 3 is about exercise and fitness. You'll learn options of where you can start exercising if you're not currently exercising, along something that I call the fitness continuum. And so there's a place to start for everyone, even if you are currently doing nothing. You'll also learn about a concept that I call OPT, which is ongoing physical transformation, and how you can take your physical body and your health to a new level. Also in module 3, we talk about modifying your fitness activities, especially if you have any physical limitations or disabilities, so that these limitations, or what might be interpreted as limitations, so they don't derail your ability to move forward and get healthier or stop your progress altogether. So you'll learn about that in this module. Module 4, you're going to learn about the tools and the resources that are available within the challenge to help you stay accountable to reaching your goals. And you'll have the ability to ask questions within the Facebook group 24/7, so that you never feel you're going at this alone. And so you'll have full access to the Fitness Response Challenge community, plus full access to the 90-day challenge modules. Plus, you're going to have the following digital downloadable assets. You'll get a digital copy of my book, The Fitness Response. This was my original book, where I really talked about the concepts of responding nutritionally to what you're doing from an exercise standpoint. I know that may be like, well, what does that mean? Well, the fact is that people who are fit, and the people that we see who have bodies that some of us may be envious of, they don't just simply exercise and eat randomly. They tend to exercise and they eat in a very targeted, specific way. And that's something that can be learned. And that's what I teach in this book. And so you're also going to have a downloadable copy of the Fitness Response Creed. And this has affirmations to remind you of the person that you're in the process of becoming through the program. You'll have a downloadable Fitness Response accountability chart. This is one of the most powerful tools that I have used over the years. It is a blank 98-day calendar. So you get an extra 8 days on the chart, given that this is a 90-day challenge. But this is something that it has no dates on it, but it's 98 days, and you can throw it up on a wall, up on your refrigerator, a mirror, wherever you want. I keep mine on the door of our home gym, and if I exercise, I put a check. If I miss a day exercising, I put an X. And my goal is to create an unbreakable chain. I want to see check marks across the majority of days. I tend to take Sundays off, but you can do it however you want. But this is a really simple, powerful tool that you can just print out and use to keep you accountable going forward. So you're also going to have these digital bonuses. You're going to get a list of over 30 grab and go low carb keto snacks. Now, these are things that that can keep you out of trouble if you're trapped and starving at school or at the airport, rather than just grabbing one of those big carby sandwiches at the airport. You know, if you're prepared, these things can help you stay on course and make sure you're heading in the right direction. And these are things that we always have either around the house, but most of them are inexpensive ways that you can be prepared so that you don't get sabotaged at times when you find yourself really hungry. And instead of just driving through a fast food restaurant when you find yourself staying late at the office or school or whatever. And you know, if you have something on this list, it'll help you make a better choice in times when you feel like you're in a pinch. And so you'll also get a digital copy of the Fitness Response 21-day workbook. This will help you get clear about what you're trying to accomplish from the standpoint of your fitness. You'll also get a Fitness Response personal journal. This will help you track your food and your exercise, and it correlates with 90 days as well. And so you're also going to get something called Ketotivity, and this is a digital guide. This is one of the most powerful tools that I have, and it teaches people how to eat in a visual, intuitive manner so that you simply know what makes sense to eat. You'll also get a copy of the Keto Response. A keto response is a natural transition to lower carbohydrate, ketogenic fitness nutrition. It's different than what I taught in my original book, but you know, over the years, I wrote the Fitness Response in 2011, and so at that time, I was recommending higher levels of carbohydrate than I am now. And so the Keto Response is something that can help you make better choices from a fitness standpoint. And so you'll get a digital copy of that. It also has, within the Keto Response, has a 21-day Keto Response fitness focused menu plan. And this is something, it's 21 days of a menu to help you get off on the right foot, to help you get started in the right direction and really learn this process of how to eat in a manner that limits the carbohydrate and sugar coming into your body. You're also going to get an out to eat guide with over 65 restaurants that we have curated across the country. I went through 65, actually, I think it's over 70 restaurants when it came down to it, that I went through their menu and looked at ways that you could order various things. Many of them are popular restaurants that are all over the country. And so I looked at the menu and looked at ways that you could order different things on the menu and order them in a way that limited the carbohydrate that comes with any particular meal that you might order. And so this is really a great resource, but you'll have that as a digital download. How much is this? Like I said, this used to be, it was a paid program, but right now it's free. And so why is it free? I just want to help more people. And we've actually eliminated the physical costs. We had a swag box at one point in time with t-shirts that our goal was to send to people who finished this program, but we wanted to make it more cost effective. And so it's free. And so what do you do now? If any of this interests you, here's what I would encourage you to do. I just need you to send me an email, to fitnessresponsechallenge@gmail.com and simply request to join the Facebook group and mention that you were on this web class today. That's all that you have to do. Just email fitnessresponsechallenge@gmail.com and just say, I was on the web class today. I'm interested in being in this group. And so what do I do next? We'll email you back with next steps. And so I hope you have learned something today. My goal is to give people hope that they can do some things to change the situation and head in a healthier direction. Because the fact is, I can't tell you how many people that I've spoken with and heard from who have taken action and taken control of their health, and they've decided that I'm not heading down that road. I'm not going to be a type 2 diabetic. I'm not going to end up the way that maybe a family member or a friend has ended up. And so I want to offer you some hope that if you do some things to change the direction that maybe you're heading, that, you know, my hope is that you can change things and head back to a healthier place. So I'm going to leave the screen right here for a little bit. Here's the information. If you want to be involved in this, if you want to be in the Facebook group, send me an email to fitnessresponsechallenge@gmail.com and simply request to join the Facebook group. Mention that you were on the web class today, and I hope I've been able to impart some things that are helpful to you. So take care and have a good evening.